Hey everyone, and welcome to Boston Autoblog. You guys have been asking me for quite some time to take a look at some sportier cars on the channel, as everything lately has been about crossovers and consumer vehicles, and that's really the direction I've taken Boston Autoblog over the last year and a half or so. But you want to know something? I think it's time to spice things up, and that's why we're going to start a whole new segment on Boston Autoblog, and that is Supercar Spotlight, where we take a look at some rare cars that we don't necessarily see on the road, but also check out and get a closer look at some very special vehicles. The Jaguar F-Type is most certainly a special car. Now, of course, you're going to argue that it's not a supercar, and it wasn't priced to be one, and it certainly wasn't marketed as one. It's a Grand Tour. It goes up against the Porsche 911, Maserati Gran Turismo, and the Aston Martin Vantage. And that's why I am here, because the Jaguar F-Type has been misunderstood throughout its history. Now, of course, the F-Type is the successor to the Jaguar XK, and that too is overlooked by a lot of other sports cars on the market at that time. However, on the used car market, the Jaguar F-Type is right around $60,000, and that's really where I feel as though this car could become very popular in the car community, because for $60,000, you get an all-wheel drive British Ford Mustang, and that's what I'm going to say. It's a British Mustang. It has a 5-liter V8. It sounds amazing. It looks cool, but also it's very comfortable on the inside. So in this video, we're going to take a good long look at the Jaguar F-Type's history and see how it compares to, say, vehicles like the Porsche 911, Maserati Gran Turismo, and the Aston Martin Vantage, and also see why, if you were in the market for a $60,000 Grand Tour, maybe a Jaguar F-Type might be the next car in your garage. Now, before I get in this review, I'd like to thank the Highline Group of Westwood in Westwood, Massachusetts for allowing me to do this review. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive luxury and exotic car inventory. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right in this video. For the better part of the last 3 decades or so, Jaguar has experienced many highs and lows on their journey to return to prominence in the automotive industry, as the British manufacturer really has never recovered from the Ford era of the 90s. In 2008, Tata Motors acquired Jaguar along with Land Rover, which has resulted in the introduction of crossovers, an electric vehicle, a new generation of luxury sedans, and part sharing from Land Rover to add a more premium feel to the interiors of modern-day Jaguars. One of the bright spots over the last half-decade was the introduction of the Jaguar F-Type, replacing the outgoing XK and being the spiritual successor to the legendary Jaguar E-Type. Where Jaguar has struggled on their quest for relevancy within the enthusiast community was a lack of a captivating and polarizing sports car and Grand Tour, as the second-generation XK is often only appreciated by the most hardcore and loyal Jaguar buyer. This all changed in 2014 with the all-new F-Type, which immediately drew attention after Top Gear's segment on the Roadster, and they also used this car as the centerpiece for an emotional tribute to Britain's automotive industry. Within a few years, Jaguar would use the F-Type in a variety of ads, embracing the "It's good to be bad" slogan as a way to create a culture around the brand's recognition of being the villain's car in the James Bond movie Spectre back in 2016. From a pop culture perspective, within 2 years of initial production, the F-Type was already more identifiable than the XK ever was. However, a very competitive Grand Tour segment was, and still is, the F-Type's greatest obstacle, particularly when it comes to pricing, as performance was never considered to be a weak spot for this two-door sports car. Back in 2017, the F-Type R had a starting price of around $106,000, putting it in direct competition with the Porsche 911 Carrera S and Mercedes-Benz GT, but was actually considerably more affordable than the Maserati Gran Turismo and Aston Martin Vantage. Depending on who you ask, some would argue the F-Type has enjoyed relative success, whether it's on the new or used car market, whereas the biggest critics will always point to the 911's dominance and rate other European sports cars higher on the list of best cars in this segment. Where the 2017 Jaguar F-Type outshines many competitors is through its design, as the very essence of this sports car is influenced heavily by the E-Type, while also having its own individual personality. Starting up front, the long sloping hood brings a muscle car-like quality, but also a retro look in the modern age, which we're seeing a lot more of from Grand Tours. Holding true to traditional styling, the bylines integrate into the headlights, and great to see is the active air vents mounted on the hood for optimal cooling. However, where the F-Type does break away from the E-Type is with its very aggressive front bumper, with functional side air intakes for a more menacing road presence. Yet the most welcoming sight for enthusiasts is the clamshell hood, which just isn't that common anymore in automotive design, and in my opinion is one of the subtle touches that makes the F-Type very special. Moving over to the side profile, the model for this feature is sitting on the optional 6-spoke 20-inch wheels in a gloss black finish, to give this F-Type a very low profile appearance. You'll get body color folding side mirrors with turn signal indicators, but if you're looking for additional safety, make sure the model you're looking at purchasing has the vision package equipped to include blind spot monitoring, front parking sensors, a rear backup camera, and rear cross traffic alert. As we make our way to the back, this is where going with a coupe is a better decision than the convertible, simply because of the roofline that flows into the rear portion of the F-Type. As aggressive as the front fascia is, the body lines, taillight design, and quad exhaust outlets come together for a unique and immediately recognizable road presence that once again brings a bit of retro styling to the rear end. It's from this angle where I believe many journalists are compelled to compare the F-Type to the Aston Martin Vantage, despite the price discrepancy, as these two models have reignited a crosstown rivalry to a certain degree, and is actually one of the reasons why the F-Type has a premium aura to its existence. Under the hood, the F-Type R is powered by a 5-liter supercharged V8 engine that puts out 550 horsepower and 502 pound-feet of torque, and is paired with a ZF 8-speed automatic transmission. Speaking to the hearts of enthusiasts is the guttural roar from the exhaust that makes an inconspicuous arrival absolutely impossible. To some extent, the muscle car-like characteristics and tendencies bucks the trend in the Grand Tourer segment, as most competition, while having aggressive styling, eases buyers into a more luxurious experience. When it comes to the drivetrain, the F-Type R comes standard with all-wheel drive, and despite theoretically being a year-round daily driver, most likely you'll be taking this car out when the snow melts. For fuel economy, you can expect to receive right around 15 miles per gallon in the city, and 23 miles per gallon on the highway. Stepping inside, you're greeted by an often overlooked interior that probably doesn't get the recognition it deserves. While not as updated and modern as you'll find in the Porsche 911 or Mercedes-Benz GT, it's on par with other Grand Tours such as the Maserati Gran Turismo. Adding a classy look, but also a minor detail that you'll see in the Jaguar XK, are the buttons for your power adjustable leather seats found on the door, much like we see with Mercedes-Benz products. If there's one adjective to describe the cockpit, it's compact, as you won't have additional seats in the back, and despite the deceptive exterior styling, the interior isn't as wide as you'd think. It's a true British roadster and coupe. In front of you, between the analog gauges, you will have a digital display that does provide additional information. One thing to keep in mind here is that even for a car manufactured close to 2020, technology isn't going to be a main focal point for interior design. Obviously, an optimal driving environment and somewhat minimalistic interior will resonate best with car enthusiasts, rather than an impressive digital display that might not have suited the F-Type back in 2017. Moving over to the infotainment system, you're actually met with a touchscreen, quick access buttons, and an onboard navigation system that differs greatly from the outdated interior we see in the Maserati Gran Turismo. While not the most impressive user interface on the market, especially when compared to German competition, I'd argue that it's aged well considering that Jaguar isn't known best for their interior layouts. As mentioned before, a rear backup camera was optional for 2017, and is something I'd recommend having on your list of priorities when buying an F-Type simply because of the lack of rear vision. Backup sensors do help, but the blind spots are definitely plentiful for the coupe. Below, you'll find the buttons and dials for the dual-zone climate control and front and rear defrosters. But more importantly, for the center console, you'll have a drive mode selector, and my personal favorite is the button for the exhaust to annoy your neighbors and every pedestrian as you pass by to let them know you own a Jaguar F-Type. Of course, you can cruise in a more laid-back and quieter setting, but where's the fun in that? For the center storage compartment, you'll have enough room for a smartphone, and there will also be 2 USB inputs and even a CD player. And rounding out the interior, a sunroof will let in a lot of natural light to the cabin. Now, getting into the interior a little bit more in depth is the fact that the Jaguar F-Type is a little more driver-centric, driver-focused, and a better driving environment than some other Grand Tours on the market today. Now, I do want to give you guys a little more of an idea of what to expect if this is your first time stepping inside an F-Type. And I do think that if you were to cross-shop this with, say, a Maserati Gran Turismo, because the prices are very similar, you're going to notice that the F-Type has better technology. So you have a touchscreen with quick access buttons on either side of the screen. You have dual-zone climate control. But of course, you do not get a rear backup camera with trajectory. And that's because it wasn't required, because that became into law right around 2018. So if you're looking for better safety, probably go with a 2018 model year, maybe wait for it to get into this price range. But also when it comes to just the driver's seat and how you sit inside this car, what you are going to notice is that even though this is a Grand Tour, it feels like a muscle car. It feels as though you are in a Mustang or a Chevy Camaro. The way the hood is definitely higher up, and you do have a decent amount of vision, but it definitely feels as though you are in an American muscle car. Now, also I like too is the fact that we have a sunroof, which lets in a lot of natural light, but really adds to the ambiance to this interior. It's just a great place to be, and it's really tough for me to actually get out of this car and leave it and then drive off my other car when I go home, because this is a really nice place to be. I think if I owned a Jaguar F-Type, I'd be behind the wheel for 2 or 3 hours straight and not get bored of it. Also adding to the uniqueness of the Jaguar F-Type is the fact that the interior is only for 2 people. It's strictly a 2-seater sports car, and we just don't see that in the automotive world anymore. With a lot of 2-door sports cars, you can fit 2 people in the back, or they at least have seats back there. But the Jaguar F-Type brings very retro-like styling, not only when it comes to the exterior, but also the interior. And by having just 2 seats in the car, not only does it give you that old roadster style feel, but also the exhaust outlets are literally right behind you, and it really adds to the environment that you find yourself in behind the wheel. It really gets you more excited, especially when you turn this car on. The sound really resonates in the interior, and a lot of really nice sounding 2-door sports cars, they've been extended to have that extra 2 seats, and you notice the sound difference. And that's why the Jaguar F-Type, in my opinion, definitely brings a retro style, and that's why I think it's been misunderstood. Now, coming around to the back, you will get right around 7.5 cubic feet of rear cargo space, which is not a lot by any means. However, it's not as bad as Jeremy Clarkson made it out to be back in 2014 when this car first started to arrive at dealerships. So I loaded up the trunk with my camera gear. This isn't everything. I have my camera bag, I also have the gimbal case, and I have more than enough room where I can also add 2 tripods and some more camera gear if I'd like. So to translate that, you could definitely fit more than 1 bag of luggage if you were to go on a road trip for the weekend with a significant other. I also think that you could fit a set of golf clubs. I do believe that. Also, the thing too is that even though Jeremy Clarkson made it out to be that you can't fit any groceries in the back, I think you could most certainly do that, especially if you don't have a family and just you and possibly a significant other. Also, you will get a rear car cover, which will keep all your valuable items out of sight. So if you do go on that road trip and you have your luggage back there, you'll have that peace of mind knowing that no one will be able to peek in and steal what you have. And then once you're done, just press the button and the liftgate will close automatically. So guys, let me know what the next Supercar Spotlight should be and what supercar we should check out next. And make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos like this one. And I will see you guys next time.